Hello, everyone. Welcome to your live player ratings for Arsenal 5, Crystal Palace 0. Arsenal come back from their Dubai break and go back to winning ways. So, we're going to talk about everything. We're going to go through every single player and talk about their performance. So, make sure you guys are liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Listen, where do I even begin? Because it's kind of like I want to keep it all the way real, but I know some people can't handle the truth. Like, we needed a win by hook or by crook. It didn't matter how it happened. We needed the win. Get back to winning ways. That was the assignment for today. But I feel like the side assignments were we want to see the attack start to click, right? And what some people will say is that, why do you care? We won the game. Who cares how we score? Other people will say, well, we scored 3 goals from open play. So what do you mean? But I think, results-based analysis is a little bit dangerous. We got the win. That's what we needed. The result is all that matters. But the performance left a lot to be desired in the forward positions. Now, Martinelli came off of the bench and got a brace, something that he desperately needed. I think Trossard's goal was also desperately needed too. But if we're honest, probably like the first 60 minutes of that game, we were asking questions about why we can't stay on side, why we're not creating any chances, why does we look so blunt? Do we only practice set pieces in Dubai? So Arsenal did what they needed to do, and I feel like it's back to normal settings where at the beginning of the season, we kind of had the same form where it was like, yeah, it wasn't perfect. We score goals on set pieces, but we got the job done. But I still think there's questions around if this attack is ever going to click. Is it the quality? Is it the tactics? What is it? Because it just hasn't been amazing. Now, one player that decided today that they wanted to win the Premier League was Gabriel. Big Gabby. He played amazing today. And he's come up with massive goals for us over the last 3 years since he's been here. 4 years actually since he's been here. But today we needed that goal. That first goal that he scored, we needed it badly because I didn't know where the goal was going to come from. If it didn't come from a defender, I didn't know where it was going to come from. The ball that Declan Rice put in for the corner was fantastic. And that's what we've been asking for. If a team is really bad at defending corners, just put it in the mixer and let your bigger guys cause havoc. And that's exactly what we did. It was the perfect ball from Declan Rice. Then Saka also put in a really deadly ball from a corner. And Gabriel did pretty much the same thing. Obviously, he wasn't credited for the goal. They gave it as like a Henderson own goal, but it was Gabby's goal as far as I'm concerned. His aggressive defending, his attitude, everything was really good today. And I am going to put up a poll for man of the match, but spoiler alert, he's going to be my man of the match. I thought he came into this game, I feel like, the way that we wanted the entire team to come into it. Fired up for it, ready to show Palace that they ain't shit. Like all those types of things Gabriel definitely did. And I'm very much so hoping that it was precautionary to take him off at the end and it's not some weird injury. Unfortunately, both Gabriel and Declan Rice seem to have come off with some sort of knock or problem, and those are problems that we just can't have right now. So I think Gabriel, for me, came with the energy that I expected more of our players to come with. Had he had not come with that level of energy, I don't know where we would have been. But you just have to win the game. You just have to win the game. And so, as long as we're winning, my complaints will be a lot fewer and far between. But yeah, I think if we're honest, the performance was not. It was not amazing, and I don't think it's negative or whatever to say so, but I'm sure there's somebody in the comment section saying, "How dare you? How dare you? We won the game." So, I am just doing my man of the match right now. There's not really a lot of options. There's not really a lot of options, so I'm just gonna throw some out there. I don't there wasn't a lot of really good performances. So we're just going to put whatever out there and then see what you guys are saying. So I'm going to hop into the chat now and see what you guys are saying. Let's go. Andrew says it would have been a Fulham West Ham result if Gabriel had not scored. Exactly. It was such an important goal to score. Mr. Happy says Eddie's ball through to Martinelli was perfectly weighted, just like his ball for Havertz at the Emirates. Yeah, it was a nice pass. Caesar says everyone above 8 today. Once again, we didn't need a traditional DM. 5 for Rice being gentle. Highest has to be Gabby 9.5 solid in every action scored. I guess I would ask, what did Rice do to deserve a 5 if it just wasn't a game for his skill set, or whatever. What was he doing that deserved a 5? Because when you start giving players 5s, 4s, and 5s, I would imagine that they did something massive to hurt the result. And as far as I'm concerned, the first half especially was more Trossard and Gabriel Jesus and Saka just not being able to pass the ball to each other. There were plenty of times where Gabriel Jesus, every single time we tried to go on the attack, he was offside. So when you come out with a clean sheet, have to defend very little, and are in Palace's half without any sort of friction whatsoever, I'm having a hard time understanding how Declan Rice, who also got an assist today, could be anything less than a 6 or a 7. Just because the game is not for your skill set doesn't mean that. Or when we play against the lower half, Declan Rice's best sparkly attributes don't necessarily shine unless he's in the left 8. So I'm not sure that that means that he needs to get a 5. The worst players on the pitch for me were the players that were up front, and it wasn't even close. Aman says it's very simple: get Martinelli into goal scoring positions and he will score more goals. Let's see. Brap says Saliba was immense. Saliba was good. He was good. I think our defensive players have been our best players this season. It was nice to see Ben White look like he was a lot fresher today as well. I don't want that to go unnoticed. I know some people will pretend like they didn't see that Ben White was having a good game, but he did. But our back line has been our best players. I'm not surprised by the performances that I see from Gabriel and Saliba anymore. I'm looking for better performances going forward. And quite frankly, I do feel like our attack is still our main issue. It just was. Samuel says, great win. Let's be honest, though, we were awful today. MD Agency says David Raya was superb. Nobody will talk about it, though. Nobody will talk about it, though, because it doesn't fit the narrative, but he was good. Just a second, you guys. I have to switch over to Arsenal women. I think they're on maybe Paramount. So give me 1 second just so I can switch over. Let's see. Lynn says, I think that the team looked more together. Having said that, I would have Martinelli come on for Jesus playing through the middle. I thought Jesus was really poor today, if I'm honest with you. He got an assist, but the amount of times he was offside, the poor touches, the passes to the opposition, I feel like I don't really know how to look beyond him, if I'm honest with you. He struggled today, in my opinion. But, he hasn't been great this whole season, so he just continued on kind of like his usual form. I don't see Arsenal women on here, and it's pissing me off. I don't know where they are. But yeah, I'm not sure what to make of Gabriel Jesus's form. Chosen One says, and Jess, they robbed Gabriel of a brace and Saka of an assist. They did. The Mad Hatter says Saka and Jesus were off it. We need them firing again. Yeah, I'm having a hard time looking beyond the fact that we were in their half and we're winning the ball back easily. They weren't really doing anything, Palace. It was easy. But the amount of times that, you just pass the ball to Gabriel Jesus, poor touch, you pass the ball to Trossard out, you pass it to whoever in that front line and they would pass it to the opposition. It's hard for me to see beyond when we're building up easily and we're getting into advanced positions. Zinchenko put a really nice pass in behind to Trossard, and instead of Trossard just passing it across the 6 first time, he tries to cut it back and it goes out for a corner. And I'm just kind of like, our instincts in the final third are just always to get it and fuck around with it a little bit more than I feel like we should. Richard says, did anyone see how Zinni was winning headers today? He's actually really good aerially. I think that's one of the things that people don't really know or take into consideration about Zinchenko, but he wins a lot of headers for somebody who's really short. Silo says our back five was brilliant today. I thought Trossard was meaty, to be honest. Yeah, that's why I'm like, everybody that was in the back line plus Declan Rice, I felt like did what they needed to do. They kept a clean sheet. We were getting into advanced positions very easily. Crystal Palace really created absolutely nothing. So all of our problems, again, I feel like are a lot further forward. And I'm surprised again at how suspect we looked in advanced positions. In advanced positions, there just doesn't seem to be any connection. The players are not sharp. You have a couple of games where Odegaard's playing really well and everybody else is off it. Then you have a couple of games where, Odegaard's off and everybody's off. Like, it's either one person is on it or everybody's off it. Like, it's strange, it really is. Johnny D says, Raya to counter 4 goals. As I said, no contest. Now you can all see why he's our number one. Um, the less I say about this, the better. I just don't really feel like Raya was ever given a fair shake. And if we just relax and back him, he'll probably just be good, you know? Emmanuel says, hi, Jess, your opinion on ESR today? I don't have a I mean, what did he do? Did he do anything? I mean, I don't wanna be harsh, but there's not really much that I can remember that he did in his cameo. You guys will have to remind me. Um, Olu says, "At this point, I'm not sure if Rice is a 6 or a 8. We need line-breaking passes from deep, and he doesn't give us that, but English fans will turn a blind eye." I mean, if you wanna make today about Declan Rice and not about the front four just being absolute shit, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just feel like there's a constant like, oh my God, Rice. Like, Rice didn't really, it wasn't on him. And quite frankly, you should probably hope that he doesn't have a hamstring injury because if we don't have him, we don't have anybody but Jorginho because somebody else is never fit. So yeah, not really having the Rice conversation right now. It's a little, you know, why do when we pass it forward to Trossard, can he not just make a simple pass? Why is Jesus offside all the time? Why can't anybody beat their man? Why can't they take a decent shot? Why did they take too many touches? Why did, those are the problems that we have, not Rice. So yeah, Mr. Happy says it's all the Partey fanboys who waffle about Rice. It's very boring. It is. It's player FC. We have a nasty, nasty, nasty player FC when it comes to Thomas Partey and Declan Rice. And as far as I'm concerned, Declan Rice has been probably our top 3 performer this season, while somebody else hasn't even played more than 4 games. So I don't really understand. Like, make when Thomas Partey gets fit again, if and when he gets fit again, we'll have more conversations about this. But until then, I'm not really having the Rice conversations because we know it's bullshit. We know it's bullshit. Simon Bond says, hi, Jess. Our third goal was credit to Raya. It was. Raya is good at throwing the ball out. And it wasn't just today either. He did the rollout against Fulham. It obviously nobody talked about it because the result didn't go in our way. And it's not popular to give Raya any sort of credit. But Raya actually rolled the ball out for our goal against Fulham. Like, he does it quite often. Sometimes we capitalize on it and sometimes we don't, but he's really switched on in those situations. And so Raya gets no plaudits whatsoever. He also saved a penalty, but nobody gives a shit because he's not Ramsdale. I mean, Ramsdale had a really good performance against Liverpool. He deserved credit for that, despite the result not going his way. Raya also deserves, some credit when he does well, but it never comes because player FC is disgusting in this fan base, as far as I'm concerned. Blaze says people need to leave Raya alone. Where Arsenal fans always want so hard to see Raya make a mistake. I don't get it. I actually asked Harry about this because Harry actually goes to all of the games with his dad, and I asked him what it's been like, and he said that it feels like everybody's waiting on Raya to make a mistake so that they can bullshit about him. And I'm just like, I'm not my mind is not playing tricks on me. I know people want Raya to fail just because he's not Ramsdale. And when you want a player to fail because you want somebody else in the position, you've already lost. So Raya versus Ramsdale kind of needs to end. Rice versus Partey kind of needs to end because until Partey can play more than a couple of games, it's kind of, what are we doing? Like, we don't need to pit our players up against each other. Like, we should want everybody firing and playing well, but we get stuck in player FC and it's ridiculous. It really is. Lynn says, I think that Arteta has got to change the game up a little bit because our rivals use their tactics around taking Saka out of the game. And so, um, um, maybe put Jesus on the wing and possibly Saka up front. I mean, I didn't get to see this goal from Eddie. Let's see. Yeah, that was a nice pass. Just simple football, especially like I expected us to whoop Crystal Palace. Their shit, you know. So those two goals that Martinelli scores are his bread and butter. But um, with Saka, you know, I just feel like when you look at the positions that Saka and Trossard were picking up, they were deep and wide. Like they were very much so like by the halfway line, very deep where they were receiving the ball. And then Jesus was very high, you know, very, very high. And so I don't know if the goal was to create space for Odegaard and Havertz to run in, but he needs to switch it where our eights are responsible for creating the chances for Martinelli and Saka. Like we should be able to, you know, create chances like that, but we're not creating those chances. Everything is about the wingers having to do a lot of work from very deep positions and for them to create chances for players that don't score as many goals. When I see Zinchenko running onto the ball, when I see, you know, players like that running onto the ball, I'm like, we're fucked. You know, we really need our forwards running onto the ball. And right now, our center forward is basically a cone, and our wingers are meant to do all this work. They're basically wing backs, you know, and then we're creating space for Havertz to run onto the ball. And he was basically like a non factor today. You know, I don't think Havertz was terrible, but he definitely didn't offer a lot on the ball, off the ball. I can't remember a single thing that Havertz did except for the one pass that he put into Gabriel Jesus and a couple of little knockdowns, but I haven't seen like there wasn't much coming from there. So he does need to switch it up. I agree with you. Like we need to create chances for the better players. You know, when we create chances for Martinelli, Martinelli scores. You know, but if Martinelli is being asked to create tons of chances for Zinchenko and Havertz and Odegaard, we're gonna score. We're definitely gonna score less goals. You know, so yeah, it's a tough one. You know, it's a tough one, but I don't necessarily get the feeling that in Dubai, Arteta reworked what we were seeing from before. I feel like he basically was like, this is how we're going to play. So let's just keep going. And we've struggled at home against Crystal Palace to create clear cut up chances, and our forwards don't look like they're firing them. You know, I don't know what to tell you, you know? Um, Johnny D says Havertz did offer an assist to Trossard, who kicked the ball, and an open goal prior 70 yards opened by Raya. Um, yeah, he did those two things. So yeah, I mean that Havertz to Trossard chance was decent, you know, but I would say that that probably wasn't like an open goal, and it did deflect off of the defender and should have been in a corner. But yeah, Havertz did things that, again, like Havertz doing one or two things, but doing a whole bunch of nothing the rest of the time is kind of like, yeah, I get that, but like, can he not do more? You know, just doing two or three things, but not doing a lot else is kind of like, can he do more? You know? So yeah, we're not getting enough from our eights again. And our wingers are meant to be basically wing backs, and they're doing a lot of extra work. And our center forward is a traffic cone, you know, so it's a lot, you know, but Zinchenko obviously looked good today because he was doing the things that he does well, which is coming into midfield and doing all the work. But yeah, this way of playing against the lower half, it's okay. It kind of reminded me of Sheffield a little bit. We played like this against Sheffield where we scored 5 goals, but I don't really think we ended that game feeling like we played particularly well. Like we scored a couple of goals off of set pieces. You know, Zinchenko did a lot of nice things, but we really weren't clicking in attack. And we haven't clicked yet. And I don't know if we will. I do feel like this season might end up being where we just have to hope that we score more goals than the opposition and that our defense keeps clean sheets, because it's halfway through the season and not a single one of those attackers look like getting going, you know, and we're in January now. So when are they meant to? You came off of warm weather training and you still look the same, if not worse. You know, actually think attacking wise, we were worse today than we were against West Ham and Liverpool. We just happened to get good goals from Gabriel that lessened the pressure. And we were also playing against Crystal Palace, who I don't know if anybody realizes this, but in the midst of a crisis. So yeah, it's crazy. Here to there says, let's be honest, we will never click until Havertz experiment is ended. Boy says we'll click and attack. It's one tactical instruction away from happening. Hopefully we get on. Hopefully we get on that. Johnny D says yes. ESR and Jorginho both should start instead of Havertz. Havertz is a starter. So yeah. Phil says, what are you talking about? We're talking about the game that Arsenal won 5-0 today against Crystal Palace. That's what we're talking about. Stuart says, we have to be positive. We got 3 points. I already did that. I already did that bit. So people that are just joining that are like, why aren't we rejoicing? Why is Jessica sounding negative? I'm just not going to tell you what you guys want to hear. Like, anybody that watched that game will still have a lot of questions about the attack. I said that Gabriel played amazing. He's my man of the match. I said it's the most important thing is that we got the clean sheet and that we won the game. And so we've lessened that pressure. We've gotten back to winning ways. But beyond that, if you guys can let me know what I should be saying that's positive from beyond that, let me know, because we didn't particularly play that well. The performance was not convincing. So again, like, I'm not just going to blow smoke just because like we won a game. Results-based analysis is super dangerous. It's like when we lose a game, people say that we played shit when sometimes we didn't. Like, people actually still think that we played poorly against like Aston Villa, we played poorly against, whatever teams. Like, we were terrible against West Ham. No, we didn't have the finishing touch, but I actually think we played better against Aston Villa, West Ham, and Liverpool. Today, the only difference is that we got the goals early from Gabriel, who's not an attacker. He's not a forward. So there's still major questions about our attack. So I'm not quite sure what you guys want me to say, other than, I've already said the bit about the positivity. I've already said it. We're a good team. We should be beating Crystal Palace easily, but I'm still surprised at how like dead we are in attack and how lacking we look. I'm surprised by that, So yeah, I don't really know what people want me to say. Um, it's nonsense, So yeah, Crypto says Palace come back from 2 goals and drew against City. Okay. What does that have to do with us? What does that have to do with us? I don't what does that have to do with us? We're not Man City. We're not Man City. Like, we're not Man City. Man City in a game like today would have beaten Crystal Palace 5-0. Wasn't that at Palace as well? We barely beat Crystal Palace at home, at their place. So I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know what to tell you guys. Um, we were we were okay today, but we weren't great. Does anybody genuinely think we played well today? I already said that the only thing that matters is that we got the points, but I don't know what else you guys want me to say. Because when we do the player ratings, if you guys think we should just give everybody 8s and 9s because we won the game, then let's just shut the stream down. Like, I feel like people just want to hear things that are not actually the truth. When we play well, but we don't get the points, I'm going to tell you guys that, like I always do. But when we play well or we play poorly and we win, I'm still going to tell you guys that. I don't know what you're saying. I'm confused. Joe says, I don't know why fans keep comparing us to Man City. I don't either. Man City won a treble last season. I don't know what to tell you. Just because Crystal Palace played decent against City and came back from 2 goals down doesn't have anything to do with us. We were at home against a really poor Crystal Palace side. Gabriel did amazing and scored 2 goals, but had he had not scored those goals, I don't know when those goals would have came, because that team looked devoid of any sort of like attacking prowess from the beginning. Anybody that watched that game would say that. So I don't know what we're talking about, So yeah, it's interesting that people, because if we win a game, then everything should be good, but when we lose a game, everything should be bad. It's not that simple. Results-based analysis is very, very dangerous. Winning Ways says Rice needs to start breaking lines with passing or dribbling. He will run forward and pass backwards. That's the point. What's the point? I don't know. I feel like it could be instruction. It could be instruction. Arteta definitely did say that he doesn't like his players in the back line to dribble out from the back. He stopped Ben White from doing it. He pretty much stopped Saliba from doing it. So it may be a case of Arteta's basically like, I don't want you dribbling out from the back or doing anything dangerous, because if it gets cut out, then we're in trouble. And there's a lot of players that aren't doing things that we know that they can do. And we're very conservative all around the pitch. We only attack with like 3 players. We don't attack with numbers. We attack with 3 or 4 players max. We tend to slow the game down a lot instead of going forward. Our play is very much so like pass it back, pass it back. It's not just Rice that's conservative, it's everybody is conservative. We know that Saliba could actually take the ball from the back and dribble out. Ben White can do it as well, but they don't. So it's not just Rice that gets the ball and passes backwards. There were plenty of times where I saw players pass backwards when they didn't have to. So I think it's by instruction, but that's just me. Ocampo says Man City is the benchmark. Yeah, but consistently comparing 2 different games doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. Like, we're comparing 2 different things. If you compare our games against other teams, like there are games where we beat the team, but our rivals don't beat the team. But different games are different games. Like, I don't get it. What does Man City drawing to Crystal Palace have to do with us? I don't get it. It doesn't, the games are different. Game states are different. The time is different. Injuries are different. Everything is different. So I don't get it. Phil says it's about building confidence. Yeah, it is about building confidence. So that's why we already spoke about the fact that we won the game. And that's great because we just need to get back to winning ways. But if that's all that we can say about the game, because we don't want to actually delve into the performance, because the performance is different than the result, then this stream could actually end right here. But that's not how I run my shows. We already spoke about the result. The result is great. The performance was not. So those are 2 completely separate conversations. So, and I'm not sure that I think that the way that they played, the performance is going to breed a level of confidence, because I didn't see, even after we went 3-0 up, we still continued to play poorly. We just happened to score goals because Crystal Palace is awful. So I don't know what to tell you guys. Performance and result is different. We already spoke about the positive. We won the game. You know, there weren't many good performances out there, individual performances. Almost everybody up front, the front 4 were not good today. They weren't. Like they they weren't, you know? It's kind of like when we lose a game and we were the better team and we had the better chances, but the other team wins, and we sit there and we say, yeah, but Liverpool, they weren't really that good. They just got that one chance. Oh, Aston Villa, they weren't really that good. They just put their one chance away. We were the much better team. It seems like we're able to understand performance versus result when it goes in the other direction. But when we win, we don't seem to be able to click into that same level of analysis. So the performance was bad, for our level. For a team that we know can play a lot better, that was not a good performance. And I feel very comfortable saying that. And I don't think it's an unpopular opinion. I think it's not what people want to hear, because they just want to hear we're amazing. And we're not. We're not. We're not amazing right now. We're a good team that's underperforming. George or Jorge says, you're right. The performance and results are different. We still need more from our forwards and they need to be more clinical. But for now, I'm happy with the win. I am happy with the win. I am happy with the win. It may not look like it, but you know, I'm happy with the win. I just feel like I was hoping for a much better performance up front. And so because I'm still left with questions, it's hard to get excited about what I saw, because we still see the same problems that we've had. Even if regardless if we lose, draw, or win, we still have the same problems. But our defense is immaculate. I love our defense. I think our defensive players in Rice, Saliba, and Gabriel have been our best players this season. And it's not even close. It's really not. It's not even close. They've been fantastic. They were good again today. And it was really nice to see Ben White come back into form. Zinchenko was good. He was doing the things that he usually does. And Raya deserves a lot of credit because he was really good today. And so, yeah, I think everybody back there was very, very good. Everybody in front of them left a lot to be desired. Those are my real feelings. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into individual player performances, and let's see how you guys waffle about that. Because I'm sure some people are going to try to make it seem like You know, you're being negative. How could you say that so and so didn't play well? We won the game. Yeah, because just because you won doesn't mean that you played well. Let's be serious. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the mess. Raya. Um, actually, why is this like this? Why am I not in the middle? This is supposed to look different, and I'm not sure why it doesn't. Give me one sec. Doesn't look right. You guys seeing? All right, here we go. That looks better, doesn't it? Okay, Raya. There's 300 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys like the video and subscribe to the channel. And always remember, it's about, you know, everything is about opinions. If you guys don't agree with me, that's fine. But I'm definitely not going to lie to you guys. So there's that. I'm going to look at the poll really quick. Gabriel is 78% on the man of the match, which is great. But I did put Raya in there. I only got 6%, which is very, very disappointing, you guys. Vote for me. I thought he was really good today. He made one mistake in possession where he passed it out to one of their players and they got a really good shot off and he saved it. He claimed his crosses. He had a lot to do with the goal that we scored. He was good. He was good. He is the type of performance you want to see from him. Obviously, you want to see a lot more. You want to hope that when we get into the bigger games, he doesn't look shell shocked. You know, as long as you're not chucking it into the back of your net, I can pretty much like be okay with the goalkeeper performance because goalkeeper conversations are boring. And the fact that ours have gotten a little too interesting over the last couple of games has not been great. So I'm gonna go with an 8 for Raya. I thought he was good. I thought he was good. I actually feel like beyond Gabriel, I could give everybody that played in the back five, um, probably an 8 because they were our best players. They were by like clear and far our better players. Um, oh, the next game isn't even till 9:30. Okay, cool. So we have time. Let's see. Boy says 7 for Raya. Not convinced by this goalkeeper. Nico says Raya 7. Lynn says Gabby 8.5. We'll get there in a second. Chola says 8 for Raya, 7, 9. Aman says Raya did everything right. Lynn says Raya 8.5. So yeah, it's I think it's that's pretty solid, and we don't really I don't really want to be talking about goalkeepers that much. Saliba, I thought also somebody that had a good game, probably not as he definitely wasn't as good as Gabriel in my opinion, but it's not like he was bad. Just because you're not as good as somebody else doesn't mean he played poorly. And so I think Saliba had his normal game, where I mean Crystal Palace offered little to no threat, but we know even when Saliba and Gabriel play against the best, they're still really, really good, So I'm not really, oh, well, they weren't really tested. When they are tested, they play like this. So, it is what it is. It's like a walk in the park for them. I'll give Saliba an 8 as well. I'll actually give Ben White a little bit. No, I'll give him an 8 as well. Like maybe not, maybe a little bit lower. Um, I don't think maybe he wasn't as good as Saliba and Gabrielle, but he was definitely much better today than he had been in the past. And I think he just needed a break. I think there was like this element of people trying to see things that weren't there. He clearly had a knock. And when it came out and people were saying that they felt like the club was lying to cover up his bad performances, I was like, be serious. Because if there was anybody that they needed to lie for, it was Martinelli because he was the worst, So Ben White just needed a little break. He looked a lot fresher today. And so hopefully his form continues because we need Ben White. We only have one right back, so we need him to play well. There's no other options. Gabrielle, definitely my man of the match. Performed like a leader, somebody that was not ready to give up the title charge. I want to title this whole show Gabrielle's title charge because the energy that he came with is what I wish everybody came with. It wasn't just that he played well. It was the energy was amazing. He was fired up. He was sharp. He was leading from the back. He scored the goals. Like he was really, really good and he won his battles with the players that Crystal Palace had out there. I thought he was outstanding. I really do. And so he scored 2 goals as far as I'm concerned. Um, kept a clean sheet. I'm going to give him a 10. He's my man of the match, but there are days where I feel like we need to sit down and talk about Gabriel separately from Saliba and not always pretend like he needs Saliba's hand holding. They hold each other's hands. Saliba, when he doesn't play with Gabriel, is not as good. Gabriel, when he doesn't play with Saliba, is not as good because the partnership of the two is amazing. But there are games where one of them just shines a little bit brighter. And today, that was Gabriel. And so hopefully he's not injured, because if he's injured, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm packing it up, but um he deserves a lot of credit, especially for this season, because for a player that's been largely considered a bozo because of the mistakes that he made when he was 23, 22, and 23 years old, I do feel like some of us need to update our opinion on Gabriel. And this is like a center back in his prime. He's 25, 26 years old. He's knocked off those silly mistakes. And now we're getting somebody that's a very consistent performer. And a part of probably the best center back pairing in the league. So Gabriel deserves a lot of credit, in my opinion. But you know, let's see if people give him the credit that he deserves. Nostradamus says Magalhaes 9. Martin N says 10 for Big Gab. I don't know how you give him anything less than a 10. Nuances of Fate says Big Gab 10. Amon says Gabriel 9. Martin N says Ben was solid. Elliot Roberts says White 7. Good return to form. Lynn says Martinelli 7. Esteban says White 7. Zinni 8. Gabriel 9 10. 9 10. Michael says the team up front were not that fantastic, but not until the changes were made. The last 25 minutes of the game was fantastic. Nostradamus says, newsflash, he's not in his prime for a few years looking forward. I think you are kind of in your prime at 25, 26 years old, but if you think your prime is 27, 28, 29, that's fine. Let's call him pre-prime. It doesn't really matter. Gabriel was making mistakes when he was young, and people massacred him for it, which is strange because it's just like, yeah, he needed to cut out the mistakes, but it wasn't like he was 25, 26 making these mistakes like fucking Mustafi. He was 22 playing in a bad Arsenal team. I think people forget Gabriel had to play with the bad players, so I'm happy for him. Nostradamus says pre-prime. So yeah, we'll say pre-prime. Jordan says he's a CB, got another 10 years. Didn't say his career's over, just said he's coming into, I think he's in his prime, pre-prime prime. You guys get what I'm saying? No need to be pedantic, you guys get what I'm saying. ZXM says, wish Gabriel got that second goal. Probably would have played a whole game to go for a hat trick. Chosen One says, 8 for Raya. Praise better be as loud as the disrespect. Just by the way, Isaiah is amazing. He did everything he could. Literally the only player on the team who got above a 7 on Fatma. Get that man to Arsenal. Yeah, I feel like if you have a player like Eze, you probably like if Arteta doesn't really play ESR, he's not going to play a player like Eze because I feel like they have a lot of similar qualities. Good ball carriers, tricky players on the ball, dribbling first, not really passers, like to get into the box, score goals. I'm not quite sure that that's the type of player that Arteta is going to want at left center mid, but he's a really good player and I would take him. I just don't anticipate Arteta going for that type of player because we have one in our team now that he doesn't even give a lot of playing time to. Not saying that Eze and Smith Rowe are this on the same level, but they definitely do very similar things, Blaze says people always give praise to Gabriel. I don't get why our fans always say he doesn't get praise from Arsenal fans. I'll be honest, I don't see it as much as maybe you do. I see a lot of actually yesterday on Arsenal Twitter was heavily like I saw a lot of Saliba holds Gabriel's hands and a lot of people quote tweeting and tweeting like videos of Gabriel making mistakes. And so, I do think people give him credit, but there's always like this little angle that it's because he plays next to Saliba but he's not as good as Saliba or Saliba's fantastic and Gabriel is whatever, So I just want to make sure at least I'm giving him the praise that he deserves, Mr. Happy says non-Arsenal fans don't rate Gabriel at all. That's because once Arsenal fans do their damage, I really do feel like people don't understand how this works. When you have good players in your team, but they make mistakes and you pile on, it gives validation to that opinion. So because Arsenal fans sat up there and called Gabriel a bozo for a couple of years because he made mistakes, instead of saying he was a young player that just needed to iron out those mistakes, it validated rivals' opinions. And so we never stand up for our players, which is why they never get any credit, which is why people still think Gabriel is ass, and he's not. He was a young player that was learning in a bad Arsenal side, and we called him a bozo, and it's done now, so it's finished. Gabriel will never get the respect that he deserves outside of Arsenal because that's how Arsenal fans are. We kill our own. We're very, very bad at standing up for our own players. Very, very bad at it. Zinny, very good game because he was doing exactly what he does well. If he's not being asked to defend a lot and he can come into midfield and chef it up, he does a good job at it. And I thought that pass that he put in for Trossard deserved a lot better. And Martinelli was probably looking at that pass like a piece of meat, because those are the types of passes that our forward players should be getting and either beating their man or putting it across first time for a tap in. And he just kind of did the usual thing where he overthought it, tried to cut it in, and it went out for a corner. Zinchenko is very good at what he does. It's very specific, and it doesn't work all the time because we have different types of opponents and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure people enjoyed his performance because it was either him or Kivior at left back, and I'm sure everybody can admit that Zinchenko is a better option than Kivior at left back. So until Tomiyasu gets back or Timber is in the fold, you better hope that Zinchenko is fit, because otherwise you're looking at Kivior. So I'm going to give Zinny an 8. I thought he was really good. A part of that back five and won his headers and won his duels. I don't know. He was good. The Mad Hatter says, I'm upset he isn't being given the goal. Can they argue that? Like, come on. I knew they weren't going to give it to him. Nostradamus says Zinny 7.5. Martin N says 8 for Zinny. Didn't make any big defensive mistakes. Caesar says 8. Chola says 8. Diehard says Zingy 8. Exactly. I love it. I love it because I just feel like when you just calm your mind down for 5 seconds, because I saw people complaining about Zinchenko playing at the beginning, and I was just like, you guys, be serious. Like, Zinchenko, you should be hoping that he's fit based on who we have available, so he did what he needed to do. Kivior came in for a couple of minutes and played center back, which is his best position when the game was already done. Don't feel like we really need to go into this very, very much, but I'm going to give him like a standard, average 6. It was an average 6, performance from him. He didn't do anything special. He didn't do anything bad. The game was already won. Jorginho, I thought, was good when he came on, except for one little bobble that he made. He passed it to Odegaard when he wasn't open. But other than that, he had some nice passes. I think he put in one of those passes for Martinelli's goal. So I'm going to give him a little 7. Hopefully, Declan Rice is fit, or else this is who we're going to be watching at the base of our midfield for however long. So I love Jorginho, but I'm really hoping that Declan Rice is fit, because seeing him say hammy was not fun, especially after they just came back from warm weather training. It's just like, how do you get injured right after that? Odegaard, I didn't think he had his best game, if I'm honest with you. Like, you guys know, if I think he played good, I'll say it. If I think he played poorly, I'll say it. I don't think anybody in that front four played well, and I think he was a part of that. He just wasn't as involved as I would have loved him to be. Unlike the Wolves game and the Brighton game and, the Liverpool game and the West Ham game, I thought he just wasn't at the forefront of what we were doing creatively, and maybe that hindered some of the players. I do think that, they have to hold their hands up and take responsibility for the things that they did, but Odegaard ultimately, I thought, was pretty average today. So I'm going to give him, I think he was below average, actually. I'm going to give him a 5. These attacking, things are not going to be very high, if I'm honest with you, because I don't think any of them were very good. Declan Rice, again, I'll say that I feel like he wasn't as involved, as we probably would want him to be, but he did what he needed to do. Your DM is meant to help you keep the ball out of the back of the fucking net, and that's what he did. I feel like there's this emphasis on him to do things on the ball, because that's what we expect from, Thomas Partey, but you can't have the same expectations of two completely different players. There's a clear reason why Arteta brought in Declan Rice, and that was to upgrade what we do off the ball, but what we're getting from everybody else is not enough. So I'm not going to give him a super high score because, I don't think he was as pivotal as Gabriel and Saliba, but I think he was a part of that. So I'm actually going to give him a 7. Just, slightly above average, a good game, a solid performance, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't amazing. Um, let's go with Havertz. He had a couple of moments, but that's usually what it is with him. He's a moments guy. He had one moment where, he passed the ball to Gabriel Jesus, had one moment here, one moment there. But I just thought for the overall game, he was just there. We're not getting enough out of our attacking midfielders. Our attacking midfielders are not the ones creating the chances. Our wingers are having to create loads of chances for them. And I just feel like that's backwards because as good as Odegaard is at scoring goals and Havertz is an attack-minded player, I still think Martinelli and Saka are better at scoring goals, so I need my midfielders to midfield. If your midfielders are midfielding, you don't expect your DM to be the most creative player in your midfield. You don't expect, like we need more from the attacking midfielders, and we're not getting that. And so I think kind of like Odegaard, I don't think Havertz did enough. I don't think he did anywhere near enough. And so, what did I gave Odegaard like a 6 or a 5 or something like that. I'll give Havertz like a 6. Like it just the front 5 just wasn't doing anything for me. Like they just weren't doing anything for me. For us to have like such easy possession and like almost like the run of the pitch, for me not to be able to think of any special moments from any of these players today is shocking. It's shocking to me. Um, So yeah, let's see what you guys are saying. Elliot Roberts says Havertz 5 really had no effect on the game. Winning Way says Havertz is cancer that needs to go. I wouldn't say he's cancer, but he just wasn't great. He just did. There wasn't enough. Like I didn't see anything. Nostradamus says 5.5 is generous. Caesar says context needed. You compare J20's actions to Rice, but Rice can't could have above a 6. Context needed. You compare J20's actions to Rice, but Rice could have above a 6. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I even forgot what I gave. I think I gave Jorginho a 7 and I gave Declan Rice like a 6. I don't know. I don't remember. Or a 7. I thought they were both good. Like they just did okay. Like I don't know what to tell you. Martin N says I would say out of our front 5, Trossard was the only one who had a good game. Anton Dunn says we should use Rice and Jorginho together more. Jorginho can pass much better, and Rice has the physical ability. That's what I would have went with today, but because Zinchenko was available, I do think you have to eliminate the Jorginho Zinchenko access. I think you either need one or the other, and that's why when people are constantly getting on to Declan Rice, I'm like, he does what he does best better than anybody else, but you guys are expecting him to be a completely different person. It's like me expecting Jorginho to win all the tackles and stuff like that. I just don't expect that from him. That's not his strong suit. Declan Rice's best attributes are off the ball, keeping the pressure on, winning the ball back, intercepting tackles, keeping possession, things like that. His main attribute is not breaking lines. He can break lines, but he's not doing it at the frequency that people like. So the idea would be to be able to have a Jorginho next to him or a Thomas Partey next to him, but Arteta had Zinchenko next to him. People are not really understanding that when Zinchenko is there, he's doing that role. He's breaking the lines. He's getting us forward. He's being the progressive passer. So we were doing that. We have one player that's winning all the duels and keeping the pressure on and recycling possession. And you have another player, whether it's Thomas Partey, Jorginho, or Zinchenko, being the progressive passer. So Declan Rice is doing his job and he's doing it very well. But because he's in that 6 role, like I feel like people are not really seeing that like he's doing his job. It's weird. Um, so yeah. Die Hard Gunner says, what's the point of Rice if we have the ball? How do you guys think we're getting the ball? How do you guys think we get the ball? How do you think we get the ball? Declan Rice won the ball. I don't know. Let's just get rid of Declan Rice. I'm getting to the point where I'm like, we're starting to revise history on Declan Rice. He was playing really well, and people that love Thomas Partey are starting to do the thing. And it's strange, you know. Caesar says, true, but even at blocks or interceptions, he wasn't good. Okay, so let's say Declan Rice had a terrible game. Okay, he had a terrible game. What did that have to do with the attack? He didn't intercept. He didn't do anything. What did it have to do with the attack? I think you guys are reaching. I'll be honest, but I thought he was good. He wasn't great, but he wasn't good. Or he was good, but he wasn't great. I think you guys are reaching badly. So let's see. Nostradamus says, Jess, did you ever like Thomas Partey? Anybody that's been here for a long period of time will know that I backed him when he was poor more than anyone. And he has been poor for the majority of the time that he's been at Arsenal. He's either been unavailable or inconsistent. And so I always back the talent. But the fact that people are going in on Rice because of a player that's never available is very like, it's like Twilight Zone for me. But it's typical Arsenal fan behavior to idolize and put people on a pedestal that never play, like ESR, like Thomas Partey, like Tomiyasu, and massacre the guys that are actually out there on the pitch doing the work. So it's, you know, when Thomas Partey starts playing games, then we can have these conversations. But, you know, it's typical Arsenal fan behavior. You know, if you're not playing, you're great. If you are playing, you're shit. ESR, you guys will have to tell me what he did in his cameo. As I can't remember. He had 20 minutes, and I think he was like lively, but I don't remember anything that he did, if that makes sense. So again, another player in the attack that I'm having a hard time finding the moments where they really stood out. But he got 20 minutes and not 3 minutes this time. And this is kind of like my thing with Emil. It's like when you get the time, you have to really make it count. And a lot of times with players like Emil, that comes with like goals and assists. The same things that we expect from like Havertz or Trossard or anybody else that plays in that position is what we'd expect from Emil. And so I don't really remember what he did, so I'm just going to give him a 6, but I'm having a hard time finding the moments for any of these players, if I'm honest. Yeah, a 6. Let's see. Johnny says ESR looked good, carried the ball well, never lost it. Like the people around him. Esteban says ESR and Havertz are equally fine, but did nothing meaningful. 5 or 6. Exactly. They didn't do anything meaningful. So yeah. Winning Ways says, what does Jess see in Rice? He's been one of our best players this entire season. I don't know what else do you have to say. Like, if you guys are going to start revising history on Rice, then you guys can just drop me out. I don't even want to be involved anymore because it's at the point now where it's like the delusion is so on a level of like, I don't know what to tell you. I feel like people are actually mad that Rice has been good. And they're trying to find a game here or there where he isn't as good and try to make it like a big deal. We won 5-0. We didn't concede any goals. And Rice is the main thing of conversation, but it's not like you can even play anybody else because the player that you guys are always talking about is never available. So it's a dead convo. It's more dead than any other combo in this fan base. He's been one of our players of the season. Get over it. Move on. The Mad Hatter says ESR drives are positive. I want to see more, but it's doubtful. That's the thing. He's just not going to get a lot of time. And how many more games are we going to be up 3 or 4-0? And that's what I'm saying. Like, he just doesn't get enough of those moments. And when he gets those moments, he doesn't really underpin it with something that you can take away, like a goal or an assist. Like, he needs to get that. But I also feel like there wasn't a lot of opportunity to do that because, again, even at like 3-4-0, we weren't really doing it. It's weird. Like, we scored a lot of goals, but we weren't really creating a lot of like those chances and those moments. So it's half ESR and half, the other players that were out there, and just the whole mood of the game was very strange. But I really think ESR is a good player, and I'm hoping that he gets more chances. But when he gets them, he has to underpin them. He has to get the end product, or else it's almost like it didn't happen, if that makes sense. Eddie, I think, did good when he came on. He got an assist. He did his thing. He didn't get a lot of time, so I don't want to go on about him for too long, but I give him a 7, just like Jorginho. I think he made the most out of his cameo, which is all that you can ask for at this point. Gabriel Jesus, I thought, was incredibly poor today, if I'm honest with you. I thought he was the worst player in our front four. Always offside, couldn't keep the ball, lacked a quality. It looks like he's in his head again. And it's giving Lacazette, like it really is. It's just like, I need you to like get your shit together, because the fact that you're still on, like, it's like being on 3 goals or whatever it is really starting to weigh on him. And you're not going to get any better opposition than Crystal Palace in a fucking crisis at home. You know, you're not going to get many better chances to kind of like make a real, like, to turn your season around. So I'm worried about our attack, because there's nothing really changing it. We desperately need somebody in there that can just change the feeling amongst the group. And right now, like, you have Jesus that's looking like he's morphing into Lacazette in front of my fucking eyes, and then you have Eddie that's just not good enough, and you have Martinelli that's just trying to get it together. You have Trossard that's just like, I don't know. And then you have Saka that looks like he's playing with one leg. Like, it's just a lot going on in that attack right now, but a lot of nothing going on in that attack. But I'm very surprised that once again, like, Jesus just is not looking like himself. Like, what I would give to have the Jesus from that Leicester game at home last season, or any of the games at the beginning of last season. He was much better. We haven't seen anything like that. And don't even in the Champions League, it hasn't been that. It's very few and far between where you see quality from Gabriel Jesus. And I know he's coming back off of injuries, but he's always coming back off of an injury. So I don't know if it's the knee injury or what it is, but he's not, he just doesn't look like himself. And we desperately need someone, but I don't think we're gonna get anybody. Um, let's see. Martin says, can't believe people are slating Rice. He's been the player of the season so far. Partey FC is a dangerous group that don't live in reality, but um, yeah, it's a nonsense that people are talking about Rice, and if he's injured, we're fucked because your guy is not fit. So you better start, praying that Rice is good to go, because you guys sound insane. Like, you guys actually sound insane. Caesar says Jorginho plus Rice is massive. They do play well together. Boy says Sal Jesus, Arteta was dumb for buying him, considering he should have known how injury prone he was. Let's see. David says slightly exaggerated, but you have a point in needing someone to settle that front line. I just maybe it's because I came in with like kind of like a negative feeling about Jesus anyway, because I've already started feeling like he's making me feel like I'm watching Lacazette all over again. And I don't think he's of the same level as Lacazette in terms of, I think Jesus is a much better quality player than Lacazette, but I'm starting to see those same things where it's just like swiping at things, taking bad shots, looking all stressed out and shit, and it's just like, bruh, like, I just need you to just do what you do best. You're all like, he was offside so many times today. It was nonsense. But did he, like, it feels like he had maybe one shot today. He got an assist, but it's like, even though he got an assist and Trossard got a goal, it didn't feel like, and I feel like it's because their overall performances were not great, you know? So yeah. Let's see. Ansa says, how the hell do you want to sell Jesus? Silly take. Um, um, I don't know if I'm that like he's not first on my list, but if we could, let me say it this way, he's not first on my list, and he definitely wouldn't be the first one out the door, because we just kind of need to just bring in another striker. But if we could bring in an established striker and a younger striker in the same window, I would consider selling Gabriel Jesus, just because I feel like his injuries are starting to become a persistent problem. And God forbid you buy a really good new striker and they get injured and we have to rely on a 26, 27-year-old Gabriel Jesus that looks like this. So taking my emotions out of it and the fact that I do feel like he is a very good player, I'm starting to see signs of a player that it's like, okay, yeah, you're not first on my list to go. Obviously, get rid of Eddie, get rid of Nelson, get rid of whoever else. Like there's a bunch of other players that we can look at that need to go. But I don't think we're that far away from a conversation around Gabriel Jesus needing to be moved on if this continues for the rest of the season. Because again, we're in January and the conversation has either been, wow, he's not scoring goals and he doesn't look good, or he's not even on the pitch. It's not a good sign. And personally, I feel like it's better to move players on before it becomes obvious, because once it becomes obvious, then it's too late. So I'm not saying he has to go. I'm just saying he's definitely not an untouchable. He's not untouchable, you know. So yeah. Um, T Power says Saka already had rest. He had rest. Wait, Saka already had rest. He and the rest of them got a free holiday to Dubai. It wasn't a free holiday. It was warm weather training. I feel like people framing it like that is very strange. Like they felt like they were on vacation and like they didn't deserve to take a break. Like, let's not be ridiculous. Like, you probably have bad days at your job and you still expect to go on vacation and have fun with your family. They should as well. So this idea that it was framed as some like almost like present or, celebratory thing for playing poorly, I think is just Arsenal fans doing what they always do. Like, why are they smiling? They losing games. Why is Arteta eating dinner? Who's doing that? Like, you guys, stop framing it like that. But Saka, just like everybody else in that front line, did not play well. I just I just don't even know what to say beyond like I don't think that he was very good. I thought that um the whole front line looked bereft. They just looked whatever. I'm just gonna give him an average 6. He was average. Like, he wasn't good, he wasn't bad, he was average. Um, which is like what like I feel like I've been saying all season. They're not clicking into gear. And we're halfway through the season. When is it meant to happen? Trossard as well. He scored a goal, but beyond that, I don't think he was that great. I don't think he, it pissed me off so badly when Zinchenko put that ball in and he, instead of just hitting it first time, he tried to cut it back and do nonsense and it went out for that corner. It just pissed me off so much. I love Trossard. You scored a goal. That's great, but you didn't play well. So I'll give him like, I want to give him a 6.5 just to be an ass, but give him a 7. It wasn't good. It was just, you guys know what I mean because you guys watched the game as well. Martinelli came off of the bench, game state and everything taken into consideration. At least he got the 2 goals. Get him near the goal. He'll score. Hopefully this will help him kick into the gear. We need somebody to fucking kick into gear already. So I'm going to give him a 7 for the goals because he scored. And what else can you say? But woo, it's weird to feel like after a 5-0 win that I don't want to rewatch the game. I don't want to look at any highlights. I just want to put it behind because like the Sheffield game, you won 5-0, but it wasn't a 5-0 performance. And I think I've made that pretty clear that like results and performances are very different. And so I'm not sure it's a performance that you can build off of, but at least we stopped the bleeding in terms of losing games. And so, yeah. Yeah. Matt G says 7 is harsh. Jesse scored 2 goals. I mean, he did score 2 goals, but it's like, it was get the game state. Like, I don't know. I could give him an 8, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because the game state was just what it was. I don't know. Let's see. I'll give him an 8. Let's give him an 8. Mr. Happy says, we bottled the title with Partey, blew an 8-point lead. He was the reason we were so poor back at the end of last season. He was literally dropped for day 20. I mean, people forget that he literally gave the ball to Declan Rice that started, West Ham's comeback in a 2-0 game. Like, he's not who you guys say he is, but I will we'll see when he eventually comes back and plays again what he's like, because I would love for him to come back and add some more quality to this team, but the the diminishing of Rice in the process is really gag worthy. It's really like it could make anybody throw up. Elliot Roberts says Martinelli 9-7. Just really, it was just the game state. Like I don't know. Did we play well in those last 25 minutes to you guys? Did you guys think we played well? I don't know. I just felt like Crystal Palace kind of gave up and we just kind of walked the ball into the back of the net. I don't know. Maybe I'm being harsh. But I'm glad that he scored those goals, but I mean, let's just talk about like at the very end, just, Arteta really didn't have to do much, in this game to get. I mean, he coached he coached okay. Like I don't know, it wasn't like the West Ham and the Liverpool game where we were playing them kind of like we were all in their box and creating all these chances but missing them. It was very different, and I don't know how to describe the difference, but it felt more like the Sheffield game where yeah, we were in their box and stuff like that, but and Eddie scored the 3 goals, but it wasn't a 5-0er where you wanted to rewatch it because the football was great and all that kind of stuff. It was just kind of like we did the business. So, and that's kind of been our season this entire season is either we win and it's not really like a fantastic, like beautiful, like performance or whatever, but we get it done, or we do all the good stuff but don't score. We can't do the both at the same time. Like I would love the Wolves or the Brighton performance put together with a 5-0 scoreline. And we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. And so we may never get it. Maybe that's not what this team is about. Maybe this team is about set pieces and, getting, whatever goals we can and keeping the ball in the back of the net. But the best performances came from the players at the back, and Zinchenko, the front five were just, they were just there as far as I'm concerned. Like they scored goals, but like, did they really have good performances? No. So hopefully, who's our next game? Nottingham Forest away. Forest, have they picked up their form? I feel like they did pick up their form a little bit under Nuno Espirito Santo, but it's going to be a tough game going away to Nottingham Forest, but we just have to win the game, and hopefully we don't get any bad news about Gabriel and Declan Rice, or we can just play without Declan Rice since everybody thinks he's shit, and we're much better without him. I'd love to see us play a couple of games without him, but yeah, let's see what happens. New episode of the Cannon Club will be out on Monday. We're going to record it tomorrow and put it out Monday morning, and that will be available on YouTube and on audio as well on Spotify and Apple. So make sure you guys check that out. I may go live tomorrow. It just depends on what I have to do, but you guys know sometimes I like to go live on Sunday, so I may dip in, and chit chat with you guys a little bit more. But even though we fight, even though you guys piss me off, I love you guys so much. And I've enjoyed this player ratings. It's nice to get back to talking about games. And we go again, back to winning ways. And yeah, maybe I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. But at the very least, I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow or later. Bye, guys.